Where's Discord there? Alright, hold on. I'm uploading this to YouTube anyway, but you might not get audio.
They got nano.
So there's basically the two things that we're bad at. One is dive, which just takes a lot of coordination, but I wanted to know what you would say you end up running on DPS and supports. I think like majorly since we're in the middle of two metas, or it feels like we are, I don't really know what we should be playing apart from like the Orisa, Sigma, Ashe, Echo, Brig, and BAP, or the BAP and Zen. But and that's pretty much all we need to play just now because we absolutely clap on it for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend playing what you guys are comfortable at, like, until you get to like a certain level of play, and then you have to like really play like what's meta. But like, I think right now, like, I've seen dive in contenders in one region. I've seen like double shield in a lot of places. I think double shield is like still really strong. You could like substitute Rhine and like have Rhine Sigma as well if you want to. But like on our matches, we played double shield like every single map with Echo Ashe, or on some maps we played Torb Kree, and then in the match we ran into some stuff that we weren't familiar with, so we ran Tracer with Ashe, I think Tracer Ashe or Tracer Echo, and that basically just works as like something in the back line.
Yeah, the Tracer Echo. Yeah, I figured out how to do it. I wanted Junkertown because there's something that we're really bad at just now. It doesn't really matter when we're rolling, or like we played against a team today. They were meant to be 4.2, and apparently the team scrimmed them before, and they said they were pretty good last time they scrimmed them, but we just fucking rolled them 3-0, which is a good feeling. But basically, when we're scrimming, the last couple of scrims, we've had real trouble making sure that we actually are, when we get to defense, for some reason we're really bad at keeping the re-engaging after we lose first point.
So you get so little value. Like all I can do.
So hold on, let me see if I can get the defense. Our attack is really scuffed in this one, but we also didn't really know what to play on, because Junkertown, sadly, in our map pool, realistically, we'd rather play Rialto because you can play the Echo Ashe there. But maybe you'll see something.
They're playing Mercy again.
Yeah. Widow top left. I'm playing corner.
Sigma over here. He took the high ground.
Hanzo's
high left.
Yeah,
we have to go left side. Sig, come. Let's go on the Sig.
Yeah, I'm coming.
They're taking main right now.
I know, but we need to push on Sig. Okay, now we can go main.
Mercy.
I wouldn't push that Sig there. It's very often like they take an off angle like that.
Yeah.
And usually you respond it by having like one guy match to negate it.
Sig far left.
And you continue to like, because without the Sig, like the front line is a lot more vulnerable to spam and stuff like that, especially when you have Echo Ashe. So I definitely wouldn't have pushed that guy there. I think you gave up a lot of space in the front doing that.
Like
it's not good to ignore it, because then he'll get a lot of like poke damage, and that's what he wants. But you either like have like two major options, which is to semi-ignore him and then push in to a point where like he's not getting value, which would be like in that case, like if he was on the left side and you just push down main more, like he wouldn't be able to hit you, right? So that's how you like negate his off angle, or or you just send like one or two people to poke him out, and then you just continue with what you're doing, because they need to make a move, right? If you're able to just sustain your point, like your position, then you'll be fine.
Right, yeah. So, but it's like on that map, you've got a lot of pressure coming in. So like I feel like I need to
Mhm.
pressure this out because he's killed our. He ended up killing
Yeah.
our
Your Echo.
Echo. Yeah, so pretty much.
Yeah.
Like I figured either we need to, if we got a pick there, I think it was winnable to draw it because I figured he might be overextending here. But yeah, I see what you're meaning. Just holding that front and leaving like Sig or someone else to go for it.
Yeah, even if you ignored him, he can't really do much on that off angle. Like, if you really pushed it, then he'd kind of be alone. Like, if you were to maintain the front, I mean, like in the meanwhile, then imagine like you push down those stairs and you're still holding the corner. Like, he would have to really reach out to like hit you, and at that point, it's like really easy for your teammates to negate his off angle because he just has to go too far.
Yeah.
But in general, though, like it shouldn't be your job to do that, so you shouldn't really be looking to like you can pull someone maybe that's like off angling to see if you can poke them out or like punish them if they're like really mispositioned. But like overall, you want to be focusing on the front.
Yeah.
Side, Sunny guys at right side.
Disorder.
Oh, fuck. That's unlucky.
I mean, the Voodoo just got a mercy pocket. Like, what am I supposed to do? Fucking hell.
If you get picked like that early, I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but like there's basically two options. Like you, not really on like not. I think I mentioned this before on like a Koth. If you get picked early, like you either back up and wait for them, or you go for an early trade. Right on this comp, it's not so easy to get trades. So like what I do as an alternative is I just buy time because that's what this comp is really good at. Right, is like buying a lot of time. For example, like using window, they can't push for like 5. I don't know how long that is. 5, 6 seconds, 8 seconds, right? If you use bongo, same thing. Or if you just like really just stand there and like you go through your cooldown rotation, you can still buy a lot of time. Whereas like on Winston, you don't really have that. Ryan, you don't really have that. So that's kind of the like alternative for this comp.
Yeah. So you're just playing the time.
Yeah, like buy time for the Echo to get back. Like it's unfortunate they got picked, but like
Top right.
it doesn't mean like you
Oh, goodness.
can really like give up because like maybe someone will get a trade. If you maintain that space, you'll be fine. Otherwise, like just buy time for them to get back, especially if they have ults too. Like buying time for people that have ults is really big.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So re-engaging.
Yeah, I mean,
Re-engaging here, like, so this twice we've played. This map was worse because we were up against the DPS line on the enemy team on this scrim was absolutely popping off, but like I feel like we do go that side, but the call that I made eventually when we did it next scrim was to have either our Sig or Ash take the high ground fight on the right and try and push them off. But I'm not sure if it would be better for everyone to just go there. Like basically when we're re-engaging, we fuck it up all the time.
where the cart, so like it depends on cart position really, and like basically cart position because that just means where the enemy is basically, right? So if you're in a position where everyone dies really early and you're not going to recontest, right? Like sometimes on King's Row, people do that, right? And then you hold the second choke, right? On this map, it would just be getting in the high ground above like the very, very close high ground that has like the window that pokes out to first. That's like the most ideal positioning because like the cart's going to come right under you. You could just spam them from above, right? So that's like the most ideal positioning if you know that you're going to lose the first fight, right? And then you're like, it's kind of the King's Row thing, basically, right? You know what I'm talking about? Like if you lose early enough, you're just like, don't recontest, let's just hold close kind of thing.
Yeah.
So so that's the most ideal position.
If you've lost it quickly, then you re-engage up onto that choke. But like for example, maps like this or even Rialto second, if they've got the advantage of the position, what should you end up pushing into? Like,
yeah, so that's like what I was gonna go into next. So like where the cart is right now. So like this position is fine. This is the second like best position to come out of, I'd say. Like if the cart was rounding the first corner, I think this is fine. But because the cart is, like, you see where it is right in front of you,
yeah.
like that just because it's there and you need to like actually touch it soon too. Like they're gonna push it and almost cap it, right? And if you're coming all the way from up here, like someone's gonna have to drop down and split. It's not great. So I would just go bottom right in this case, because then like then you can wait until like the very last second to contest cart and not like force a bunch of resources before you contest and like close that distance really easily. So those are like the big like 3 things, and it's like it's not as complicated to choose which one. Like you just kind of like this one's fine. Just like if the cart is where it is, just go to the bottom right, or if it's any like closer. That's basically it. And then if you're gonna do something like this, even you can maybe send someone on an off angle, like top right. Just to like, you know, if you're getting stuffed, just so they can peek out and help you to get out, or maybe get that widow, you know, that just killed you, or just take her attention. So yeah, you can call for like your Ash to split or your Sigma maybe, if they want to. It's not always good to like off angle on this map, but if you were to go out the correct door at the correct timing, it wouldn't really be that big of a problem because, you know, high ground, it's not that hard to like walk out here if they're not already having this great positioning.
Yeah. So basically just do it. I didn't realize how far the card pushed pretty much, but yeah, I see like I see high ground's important there, but realistically you want to be, like you said, taking the fight on cart and just stalling it out, because the time it takes for us to get from here to cart is probably too long to actually not get killed.
Yeah, at least where it is right now. Like, if the cart was a little bit further back, it would be fine.
Yeah, if it was like at the takeaway shop, the noodle shop.
Yeah.
I think we hold them. I'm not really concerned. It was basically that recontest, and I guess it's just what angle we attack at, because we've been stuffed with that a couple of times, and then 2 CP, which is another nightmare for us if this loads.
Okay.
Right, hold on. I wish that we'd lost a game in the tournament, so I had like a tournament game to show you instead. But we kind of just rolled, so.
Better that you rolled.
Yeah. Did we not play 2C? Oh, we played, I think we played Hanamura on the other one. We're pretty good at Volskaya.
I'm on Anna.
To them. We have
Oh, we played Anubis.
I'm gonna
Okay.
pull.
watch out for wall. Watch out for wall.
Something I want to say with these comps though, like there's a very big idea I just want to mention. Like the way that we play it is like always try to like if you're on attack, you want to like
What do we have
you
to
know,
change to for second?
basically on attack and defense. There's a main idea that you want to poke out hard, force resources, and then do something. Like a really clear-cut example of this might be using window to force drone on the enemy team, and then sig ulting after the drone's out. You know, like we would do this thing on Oasis University. You know map?
Yeah.
So
one
we would do this
with the
thing
middle
on that
point.
map. Yeah. So like after we'd cap it, we'd walk up to one of the chokes on the left or the right, and we knew that they have to walk down main, right? It's really easy spam. So we would just like, and it doesn't take anything from us, which is really important besides positioning. So we would stand at the chokes and like hard spam them while they're walking down there. And then hopefully they use like anything like Orisa Gold, Sig E, Bap E, right? And then once they get closer, we'd follow up with an ult or just rush them if we got enough things out of them. So those are like 2 major steps that you want to like kind of like lead your team on, because your pull kind of forces the first things, and then your pull can often follow up on the second thing.
Right, yeah. So yeah, you're pretty much setting up for the first pull to try and bait out stuff, or the majority of time you're trying to bait out the resource, and then the second pull you're using it to set up something.
Yeah, and like the earlier that you can pull, it's probably better, because you know, if you can pull really early and force stuff, or maybe not even pull at all, then you'll be like in a better spot to like follow up the ult. Because if you don't have the pull for the ult, it might be a little awkward. But like if you're windowing first, you know, you're gonna want to pull anyways. You know, but you're just gonna have to read it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because pull has like a 9-second cooldown or something, so it's kind of long.
Yeah, like pulling them with a choke here, and
Ash lagging behind. Careful, they're gonna push into us hard here.
this will be like the first time you've actually heard columns from me as well.
We have-
Yeah.
Ash on that, yeah, I should drop.
If we get one more pull sticky, I have ult.
Yep.
Ash, come
Oh,
on.
ch-ch-ch-ch.
I'm looking for pull. Keep your dynamite. We pull main in a second. Bat main. Okay, he's out.
Yeah,
That's
we
unlucky.
should have expected that.
Yeah.
We can use,
I didn't even
Okay,
see
yeah,
Bab
yeah,
get
yeah.
split.
Breaking shield. I can pull up.
Reset our ship. reset our ship.
Just to mention, keep pausing. Just to mention on this map, if someone off angles from main, you can put a shield on that left pillar that shields the mega and main, like because you know how shield is curved.
Yeah. I'd usually do
just-
that if there
yeah.
was like Widow or something.
Okay, just making sure because I do that every time, like in ranked, because there's always someone off angling main in ranked,
Yeah.
but they're all grouped here. So could you go back a little bit so I can just see what's happening a little?
Is there? I wish there was better controls than slide because it goes so far back.
Bat main. Okay, he's out.
Yeah,
That's
we
unlucky.
should have expected that.
Yeah.
We can use, kind of use it.
They're coming main.
They're pushing.
Breaking shield. I can pull up.
Reset our ship. Reset our ship.
We have to back
Okay,
up here.
so
Play on point.
Yeah.
all right, just pause it. So like in the past like 5 seconds, you guys blew through. Well, you have no cooldowns, right? Which is not great. Like I want you to work on alternating between shield and pull and gold. Like you should try your best to not use all of them at the same time, as much as you can. Like sometimes you're gonna need to use both, and that's like the highest level Orisas can read when like they need to gold, right? On
Mhm.
top of that stuff. But like using gold too early is gonna like hinder your ability to follow up on your pull poke. Does that make sense? Like if we're going off of that. Sorry, my gain is really high. My mic. Is this better?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So, like, basically, what I would have done there, I would have tried harder to spam that choke. But obviously, like that's up to your team as well. It's not really much you can do. So, like, if you see them getting in like that, I would back up to the bridge, and then, like, that's how you. So, a big way to get the poke in is through distance. Like, because you know they have to close that distance to get to you, and you know the longer they have to walk to you, the more time they have to take poke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you start further back, but still in a good spot, like it's really ideal. So like there, you know, back into the bridge, they still have to cover a lot of distance, so you could keep spamming them. And then the thing about not using gold with the pull is that like if you were to pull them there, right, and get the resources out, which is huge, you're not going to be able to follow up because you don't have gold. You know, you want your gold to actually push in at some point. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then
So-
also you guys use drone on top of the gold, so it's like you really want to space those out as much as possible to buy as much time in a good position and to sustain as long as possible, right?
Right. So when should we? Like I shouldn't have to be calling that, but when should we be
Mhm.
using the BAP MO?
Well, that's like something that's really up to the BAP. But like when you don't have, it's basically to save you because everyone else on your team should be pretty self-sustainable. So you know, with the idea in mind that you want to stall for as long as possible, get as much resources out as possible, and like buy as much time, and still be able to follow up, then I would just say like you keep calling your resources and let him know how vulnerable you are, and then let him make that call. Like that's what I
Right.
do with my BAP. Is I'll be like, I'll tell him I'll just say if I'm using gold, I'll say I have nothing, and then they'll just kind of read the situation because sometimes they don't need to drone to save me. Sometimes they can just heal me. Sometimes someone else can save me. But drone has a 20-second cooldown,
Yeah.
so it's like really important not to waste it. Because even right here, you guys can fall off the high ground. That's fine. Like you can identify that they're going to take that space without you getting a kill or anything. But wasting drone means that you're going to be like out of the fight for the next 20 seconds and have no positioning.
Yeah. And see when you do back up over the bridge here, do you stay in that position or do you try and come down the staircase?
I would definitely like get ready to come down the staircase because like what you did is fine. I'm just saying like it's an option and it just goes off of the idea I'm trying to tell you to back up to the bridge. But like you basically just want to be in a position that you can fall back safely if they do close that distance. And the bridge is like not super like safe for that, right? Because like if you walk down those stairs, they can still shoot you.
Yeah.
So I would definitely like when you're in a position like that, you just want to call it to drop earlier, you know, like earlier than later. Because if your team ends up having to back up into that room or something, like it's gonna just get really awkward and split. But yeah, your Echo, you know, had a good offing on the left, so I think it would have been fine to just stand on the bridge. I think you guys would have eventually like
Worn them
won.
down,
You know,
right.
you don't always need to like plan to fall back if you're like playing correctly. Even if like you do plan to fall back, if you're playing correctly and you're forcing a lot of resources and doing a lot of damage, then
You
they're
should
not
be
going
able to
kill you.
re-engage. Yeah.
But yeah, it should be able to re-engage or like eventually get a pick, but like mainly just not kill you, which is like really important.
Yeah.
That's like a huge thing I've been trying to do, and I'm actually glad that I'm finally like playing again and coaching you because like I can actually relate now for like for a while. But like what we've been trying to do, and I've really been trying to push this idea with my team is like I want them to all as early as possible and like get as much poke in as early as possible so that they can't ever like get a clean engage or anything like regardless of why it's good, like you know it's good because you know you can eventually follow up, but
Yeah.
I really
you're
just
creating the
don't want them to
options.
I just really don't want them to have options like because I trust my teammates to like get their own picks and stuff. If I play correctly and I position correctly and I make the right calls, I trust them to get the picks. But I like also trust that the enemy will get value if I let them sustain for a while and like I don't pressure them early. I think I might have mentioned it before where like you just want to be more aggressive and like have your plan overlap theirs.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, you're trying to take the resource, just any resource, before they come in, because anything that
Yeah,
you can burn
anything.
before they get to you is like more resources stacked in your favor.
Yeah, and they don't have it to attack you with it. So
Yep.
like they just feel
They've got less
they just
options.
feel-
They're a bit more restricted.
yeah, they feel restricted. They feel like shitty. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sig E is a big one because like
Yep.
Sig E is one of the biggest counters to pull because like he can eat pull, but even if it doesn't eat pull, he can just use it after and then eat everything.
Yep.
So
Well, I keep playing it for a little bit. Hopefully this should be uploaded pretty shortly as well.
I have no lamp.
Shield him one.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
This
I
is
got
fine,
pulling
I
two.
mean.
Yeah.
Pulling up top. Got it.
So the last two
Thanks,
scrims I
one.
played, this is really bad for us being in this position. We never win
Six low,
from this
six low,
position.
six
I
lead.
don't know how
I
to
can pull up in
win.
3, 2,
Hmm.
1. Big pull.
you know, you guys are doing is fine. I would have done that first
I
pull to
wanna
try to
push
pull
into
someone
this.
off the
They
high
don't
ground.
know. We bob as soon as we get it,
That's
okay?
like a
Right.
really important thing to try to look for. To split someone up.
Watch out for, you don't have Mabel.
May no.
Ash is
no-
lower.
I mean, you're
Okay.
doing fine. Like this is what you should be doing. You should just eventually win with ult.
Yeah.
I didn't have my shift
I
in
got
time.
fucked there. I had shift as well. I just didn't use
See
it.
the back from where I was and I was about to die.
Def, Bob, there.
Like, I feel like when you get stuck in this, you've ended up giving up so much positioning. Like they didn't really take advantage of where we were playing there, because like, but realistically they could have just walled us in there and then forced us to come out through the mini room, and we'd have been fucked. But on other
I think
teams that have been running like the Echo Ash, they just take advantage by they can just sit above you. There's no way that we can kill anyone without like obviously the Halt
Yeah.
hook or something. Like it just puts
I
us in
think-
such a bad position. So I think yeah, you're probably right. Well, you are right, going over the bridge first and then back into point.
Well, that's like a minor detail. I think you're gonna end up in this position a lot of the time, anyways, which is fine. Just the whole point is that you didn't get picked, which is good. Like they can take space and stuff, but you did force a lot of resources, like with your 2 pulls, and you forced a lot of resources for them to take that space. But you guys just, as a team, I don't think have the second like part of the plan where you need to follow up with ults. Like you have 2 of the biggest ults to turn things in the game. Like you have the window and you have Sigil. And you had
Yeah.
those before anything happened. You just need to like even though you're on defense, your team needs to like look to proactively use those especially when they see like windows of opportunity. Like they use Siggy, they use gold. Like all these little things are so huge to pay attention to, because if a Bap wastes drone, you can pull him and kill him, right?
Yeah.
If Orisa uses gold, you can wait until her shield's dead and pull her and kill her. If a Sig uses E, you pull him. If a Mei uses freeze, you pull her. Like, you got to pay attention to all these little things, but also your team needs to like look for they need to look for this stuff, because if you're just like kind of playing like 2-dimensionally or whatever, where it's just like, okay, we're here, fall back here, hold this position, right? Like, if you only think about positions, you're gonna eventually lose out, because like that's a high ground versus a low ground, right?
Yeah.
Which to me it's fine, because like positioning becomes overlapped by damage and ults a lot of the times. Like if you have shitty positioning, you can break through with that sig ult. You can take all the space back. You can use window, and now they're all hiding. You could take space back or kill something. Like, you don't even need to take space back, because you're in a fine position. You're in a safe position to do damage from.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
it's not. Yeah. So it's not really the position that's bad there. It's just the follow up. Because I think I died there when I was standing still holding tab to try and look at what ults we had.
Yeah, you guys are just spending too much time idling, you know, because what you're doing is fine. I'd say like it's your team's fault or whatever, but you can call this stuff too, and like obviously, this is something I recently learned at a contenders level, so it's like not really something I expect a lot of people to know, but I think it's something like the enemy team's not always thinking about. Like a lot of the times when I was scrimming recently, like they would play into my hands so many times, because you know, on Oasis University, they have to walk down main to get to the point. You know, I just know that that's like what they have to do. They have to go from their spawn to the point. You know, like that's at least something I can predict. So they play into it a lot of the time, and a lot of the time, like they literally can't not use resources. Like if you pulled the Orisa without like a Sig or something, she has to gold or she dies, and if she dies, then that's fine. That's like an easy fight win.
Yeah. So question for you here. Would you, if they didn't just cap when we were respawning, would you be pushed all the way out to the gate to try and poke them before they came in? Right, okay.
Yeah.
Because I started doing that on the scrim yesterday, which is a lot better.
Something to add to that though is like, that's a really good idea, and you should look for those things like in a lot of places, but you need to also realize that that's not like a very useful place to capitalize on, because like they can use a bunch of stuff, but you don't really want to go out there and like kill them, because that's just a waste of like your resources, waste of your ults, you know, and that's like a throw if you die. So in that position, I would just suggest like poking for main and then falling back, because even if you don't like follow up, you're just delaying them, you're forcing a bunch of resources out, and then you know maybe they push the cage right there on the cave, I mean, that you're looking at, and then you pull again, and they have no gold or no drone, and then you get the kill. Or maybe they just have to use more resources, which is fine. It just contributes to our main idea. Or they go to the left, and they have, you know, maybe the Sig uses E, and you pull him, and now he dies or something. It's a lot of hypotheticals, but you know, you just like keep giving yourself that chance to get kills and to like keep them pressured so they don't kill you. Because if they walk in right here while you're on point, and they hadn't used anything, they could easily just walk up to the bridge where you are and like face you, and then use window and pull and use all of their resources to kill you, and then you're going to be on the opposite side where you have no cooldowns to kill them.
Yeah.
And like you just play into their hand.
I'm gonna set up high ground.
Like this isn't terrible, because this also contributes to our idea, right? Like if you're this far,
this is good. They have to commit resources to get to you.
Yeah, you know that they're gonna have to come to point. I would play behind that thing on the right side for cover.
Okay, they're engaged.
Right.
Pulling. 3, 2, 1. Got it.
But also, you guys didn't really pressure your rotation into the cave, which is not great. Like I would have been standing on the bridge.
Right.
See how they come in now, and they have everything to use just to respond to your aggression, and just to like it's basically a neutral fight, except they have much more ult, so they just win.
Yeah.
We're good. We can stall. We've got echo. Nice.
And your team needs to play into this idea, because you're buying time for them to like get ults off. Like you just keep buying time until eventually your echo copies, and like she can get a bunch of free kills because they had nothing.
No.
No.
On the Orisa. Bap up top. Pulled him.
Sorry, I built this.
And you're a huge part of this because pull forces some of the most resources in the game right now.
Yeah, and it sets up a lot as well.
Mhm.
So basically,
if we can get a really good pull here.
Aye.
so when we're talking about really good pulls there, which is fine, but we really need to be burning them. Like, by the time it takes them to walk from main all the way to the right side or all the way to the left side or all the way main, I'll have another pull for there, and that's just when we just need to be aware that there's like a peak in where we need to be. It's kind of like dive, where it's like when the pull comes off, there's like a window of opportunity to get a kill, and then when it doesn't happen, you poke safely until the next pull really happens, or they engage onto us with ults, or we engage onto them with ults with a plan.
And stuffing a choke is actually one way to accomplish this. Like if you were to hold right in front of the cave, you can like poke them and like keep them pressured, and a lot of the time like they can't really push. And
Right.
I'll use Oasis University as an example of this. Like this is especially good against Reinhardt comps. Like Orisa, it's not super great because she can pull.
Yeah.
But like against Reinhardt, we were playing University, and it was first fight, and you know how they play Ryan with Mela on University? They just walk onto the point and try to wall something in the choke and then run at it. Like on first fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, what we did one time is we like my Sigma off-angled in the room to the side, and he told us to just push onto the point. And I didn't like this because like I knew that they were just gonna have all the resources to just run me over with, and they did. So next time I suggested that we just stand main and poke them from our main, because even though they're on the point, like they can't push past our main. That would just be dumb. Like if they just ran through our main, that's like a choke. They're gonna split. Like they're gonna not get. Like we're gonna be really hidden and split up. And so like we can, even though we're like really close range with them, because we're like really not far apart. This choke like pressures them from not being able to push us, and gives us the opportunity to just poke them. And especially it's because the point is unlocking in like 15 seconds, so they just have to stand on the point and take our spam, and then we can touch at the last second.
Right.
And another example, I like use Oasis over and over, but like Oasis, on Oasis, what's it called? The one with the cars.
City Center.
City. Yeah. Like we would play Torb Kree, but we also play Double Shield, so it's not like a big difference. And we would first fight go to the cars, and because of the point, this is like a little different on Koth, but the point applies. Like the point doesn't have to unlock, right? So we just stand near the cars and spam, like in an untouchable position, right? Like they can't push up to us in those cars up those stairs. Like that would just be dumb. So we would just spam from the cars, and then like when the point was about to unlock, hopefully we force something by then, and we would just like rush into them with pull, or like have our Sigma off angle on main or something, and then just push in.
Right.
But the whole point is that we're poking from somewhere that's basically untouchable, and like a lot of the times it's a lot of responsibility on the main tank to call like the position that's like untouchable but still like gets value. Because like if you stand too far back, then you're not going to
kill
get the poke
anything.
in.
Yeah.
But ults like a lot of this stuff like happens in neutral, and it's a lot more important in neutral because ults kind of make up for poke in so many ways. Like you can be in a really, really terrible position,
And
or just like
use
in
everything.
any position. Yeah. Well, not use everything, but you can, like, another example. I'm only using Koth because that's literally, we played it in the tournament and it was only Koth, so that's like the only thing I'm practiced on right now. But on Ilios Runes, like, it's not a great map for poke after you cap the point. But what I gotta do something, right? So what I did was, let's say it's like hard to, let's say you're attacking in the, or whatever, in the megas on the left. Picture. Yeah. So after we capped, I would walk a little bit past the mega, like the box, and then the other mega on the left that's inside a room. So I would spam in between there, and like I would barely get any spam in, but I would pull early enough that like I would still have pull for when they actually came in. So I did determine that it was worth it, right? But like the thing is like a lot of the times there, they would just get in without taking spam, close the distance inside the room. You know what room I'm talking about. Like they would go the right side and then inside and then go to the bridge.
Yeah.
Point. Yeah. So a lot of times like they would just get in for free and then or like get in without using much and then still like they closed the distance, so they just ran us over because like we're on bunker, and we weren't too far back. And honestly, if you back up too far, like they're gonna take the point, and it's like okay to like play really far back, up the ramp on your side, but like that doesn't feel great to me. Like I like to be more proactive than that. So what we ended up doing
a
is
chance to back up, but if you're already in that position, there's nowhere to go.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So what we ended up doing was we just tried to figure out more ways that we could pressure, regardless of like if it's that ideal of a position for us. Like we would, now I would say like window, window when they're in that room, even, like when they're in the room right before the bridge, like they're stuck in there, they're all grouped up and they're in a choke. And even if I don't actually kill anything, or even if I just buy time, like I just bought time, like on a Koth map, that's pretty important. While we have the point. Or like I just forced a bunch of things and now someone maybe can flank them. Echo can fly over them and shoot them in the ass.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the point is that like even in non-ideal situations, you can use ults to like just get in that poke. Like positioning is really really OP because like you can have ults and positioning, but a lot of the times, like especially when the teams aren't super great, like, you can just make it up with using your ults aggressively. And window is like a huge one because like as soon as the window goes down, the enemy uses drone, which is one of the biggest resources to force.
I keep watching.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
If they're trying to play us on the right side again, we just hold them like directly in front here. Yeah. We can't.
I'm just pulling out main.
Back. They have the bongos, they have window, and they have trends.
They are going right side.
Yeah.
I'm ready for a pull.
We're gonna say now.
Yeah, like this is ideal. Like you could maybe even be a little closer. Like if you were at the box,
I can bongo when they come in here.
to the left of it, like you could be closer, and they can't really push you there because that'd just be dumb if they were to push main. But that's totally fine what you're doing. That's like safer
yes, they
and
will.
better.
I'm pulling up. 3,
Yeah,
2,
your Ash's
1,
bobs
pull.
are pretty terrible.
Where should they be?
Break their line.
Like I don't understand where they're
Zan's
going, and
one,
I'm calling
Zan's
a
one.
lot where they should be going, or when we should be using them.
We keep chasing them.
I mean, she just like sends it right in their face a lot of the time, which is like really easy to kill or just shield off. Off angles are usually
Got bat.
pretty strong.
Yes.
Right.
And you can use Bob a lot of the time. I'd say is better as an initiator to like get stuff out because like, it boosts things. Instead of, but you can use it as either that or a follow up. Right there, like right there. Could you go back to like the whole fight started?
Yeah. Hold on.
Like it ended up working, but I'd say it's like a largely because the enemy like
It just
made
bought us
mistakes
time,
and
really.
I can bongo when they come in here.
Hold them close,
Like,
hold them close, hold them
Yeah.
close.
I'm not saying what, because like the Bob is out of your control to get your Ash there. I wouldn't go into the cave like that. That's like way too risky. I think you have the right idea holding the left of this wall. Just going off of what we just talked about chokes. Like they can't really put you there without getting shot in the ass or something, or like just being really awkward. And like bongoing there is totally fine because that's accomplishing the first thing of baiting out a bunch of resources. Except like I would just your team didn't need to bob there or just bob later.
Got bat.
I don't know if you guys used anything else, but if you guys did, that'd be like an overall.
Pulled main.
I don't think we did.
But Maywell is one of those resources that you hope to force out and then later like capitalize on.
I'd probably
They
take
still
like
have trends,
Yeah.
they still have trends at
So
bongo,
yeah, you're pretty much,
no, close above
especially there when they're trying to wall. Like we don't really. I was trying to bait the wall because I was worried about getting walled off.
I want to try and echo alt and
Or,
get,
like
Yeah, I mean,
if I was holding
I would have
close.
just
so
stayed
that we
on
can get out of the
point.
main.
I would have just stayed on point because like even if you get walled off on point, your team can save you. But if you get walled off in the cave, you're just dead.
Watch out for wall, watch out for wall.
I'm stopping
Unless your team
Bob.
like instantly kills the.
Bob's one, we can
the
kill
wall.
him. Nice ammo.
Yeah, that's good. I mean,
3
I
seconds
do
to
that
shield.
too.
Now.
Stepping up,
Just wait
killing
this
them.
out. We win this if we just wait.
I would have waited for that window to go down so your shield doesn't like instantly die.
Yeah, I recognize that. Like I even said that. I just didn't.
That's
I will make a
fine.
bomb go.
I do that too. I wouldn't have gold there.
There is as well.
Like you're doing the right thing. Like you're buying time. You're in an untouchable
Nice.
position.
Control.
Hey, why can we only hold the last point of
The
that?
only way your team can lose there is if you all peeked when they had window and
Last
it
point.
died.
There is no last
Charles.
Yeah. Yeah, if I peek there and like those random fucking May headshot and Ash headshot, instantly killed.
Right, I gotta pull.
If you had gold
Grab
there, you
flux
might have
here
been
and
able
we
to like
bob after
push
it,
up
just the same
and
as what we've been doing.
like capitalize after the window was gone a little more.
Yeah, because the Orisa tried to push us
Try and
straight
save
after
Rally
it.
for the close fight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look for a pull.
So
back.
could you
Oh, left.
I got
That's
left.
could you go back a little bit and pause when your team shows ults?
Carl.
Okay, I saw Sigma, Ash, and Brig, right?
Yeah.
So, like, just based on like the ideas we're talking about and this map, what would you say? Like, I know you made an alt plan. I'm not sure. I didn't hear what it was, but like, what would you say is like a good alt plan to accomplish, like what you should be doing here,
So
based on having Bob, Sigma, and then Rally. I think you had.
with just like basically since this is the fight before, it's 1 minute 4A, so we're coming up pretty much second to last fight. We're probably gonna have the other 4 ults for the very last fight, so we can probably use Bob and grab Flux here. So I'd usually what I've been doing is pulling for grab Flux and bobbing onto an off angle or bobbing underneath them so that the Bob just wrecks them when they're in midair.
So
And if they can get to us, then if that doesn't kill them, then we can rally when they engage
Yeah.
onto us to stop them. Like, because once they've committed everything to that, and if they still trying to engage on us and we use rally, then they're just gonna get rolled over.
yeah, I think that was a really good plan if you were on attack. I think that's like one of the best things you could have done if you're on attack, because the Sigil, the main purpose of using it first isn't really to force things, because it does so much damage and such a huge AoE. You know, that's why it costs so much to build.
Yeah.
So I would have, I would just say like prioritize that higher and don't use it first unless you're like trying to take space. Like that's what we would
Okay.
do sometimes, because like if you pull and flux, like then you can walk up and close a big distance without them messing with you. If that makes sense. And then like that whole plan was good is because you could follow up with Bob and then take more space, or force them to look at the Bob
Yeah.
and take more space, and force more cooldowns. And like the rally, like I don't know, the rally I would probably just use early in so many situations so that you can build the armor and get the max value out of it, and also like defend yourself if they wanted to use anything of their own to do a proactive plan of their own. Like if they were to Sigil, if you already have rally going, it'll probably save your team. Whereas if you just rally when they Sigil, you might still die.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So maybe knowing that, we could have possibly, since we know that well actually let's see what my actual plan is, but possibly just using the Bob and the Brig ult, and we probably get away with that, and using the Sig ult later if we really need it.
Good stall.
Yeah, I would have rallied, like
Last point.
I would have just done,
Uh,
first positioning
Last point.
is so prioritized positioning, especially like on defense, because it's, I probably talked about the defense advantage before, right? Like they have to come to you, and like your positioning alone and the fact that you're on defense alone, like you should capitalize off of that, right? Like just to force things, because just based on no ults, right? Like they should,
Mhm.
they should feel pressured at walking in, right? So let's say like you just do that to accomplish the first part. Then maybe you could follow up with just Sigil if you see them use drone. Drone is a huge thing. Like if they have trans, that's a big thing too, because trans can save everyone from the Sigil and then get more value. But like not a lot of people are playing Zen, like they're playing Bat Brig. And like you'll probably know if they have trans, like, or at least your Sig will know if they have trans, hopefully. That's like at least what he should be paying attention to.
Yeah.
So what I would do is like first, like, get that poke in, like right here is good. Back up to where you were before on the bridge. Get the poke if they're going cave, right? And then I would like if they're actually in cave, I would probably rally I mean, like
Rally when you're on point, but still like not use it to engage onto them. Just use it to deter
Yeah,
them.
'cause they-
Like use it because
Yeah.
that either they've got to engage onto you into rally, or they've got to wait it out for another 15 seconds. And by that
Yeah,
point,
and-
there's a very good chance you're going to get a hook or some like anything.
Yeah, that's like the second part is what I'm a little more worried about because like if you rally too early, they'll just hide in the cave and that'll get like no value.
Yeah.
It's not worth it doing that. But like they have to come to you. I would have just like let them push in just a little bit past the choke because you can
And
rally
then-
and go in there if they didn't have May, but they do have May, which is like a dumb pick in my opinion. I don't think May's very good anymore.
No.
Maybe it's on comps or something.
Yeah,
But-
I agree. I think that's I think I agree with you there. Where we just want to be
Make-
a lot closer to that. So either like if we're using the rally, we want to play a bit further back. Because what I usually say with rally is that
That's a good
you
point.
use rally when use rally after they're committed. So like as you were saying, like once I know that they're actually going to engage on us and they don't have an option, then we rally because then they have to engage into us because they're already committed.
Yeah, or you could chase them. Like,
Especially, I
what I
think
would
at this level, I don't think people are smart enough to be like, "Oh, our
Yeah.
plan now has like a cog in the works. They've used rally."
yeah,
They probably wouldn't like
Yeah.
be smart enough to just back off out of it.
yeah. To add to that, like, I'm just trying to think. Okay, so if you were holding the left corner there, like, and they're coming in from cave,
Yep.
like they'll probably push past the corner to shoot you, right?
Yeah.
And then at that point you could rally, but they could still back up in the cave and wall off or something. So I think your plan is better, where you just like stand behind
Hang
the
back.
right thing. Yeah, stand behind that thing that we were talking about on point, the right thing,
Yep.
like the little thing that you can roll up as Hammond. And then like don't give them too much space because even if you rally and like it's a kind of a waste, like at least just deny the fact that they could kill you. Like if they kill you first, then that's just over with. So, like maybe pull rally to like make them feel pressure and make them force things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you could just bob first if you wanted to, like fuck it, But just like rallying first is usually just stronger because it builds the armor. Like in almost so many situations, I like to rally first, or I like to rally as like a follow up engage. Like if maybe we could do is like I don't know, it's tough. Like maybe you could just sigil and then force a bunch of things and then rally and then actually push into the cave. Like that would probably still kill them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Basically, what we did, but we used the rally to engage instead of the grab flux.
Yeah, I think both things are fine. I don't know. I get my Sigma likes to ult first a lot to force things, like and then follow up with other things. I think rally is one of the only things though that like I would justify using Sigma ult first for because if you Sigma ult and then follow up with Bob, it's probably not gonna get like anything. If you follow up with Bongo, like maybe, but like why not just Bongo first in that case and then force things and then Sigil?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, that makes... Yeah, I don't think I've been prioritizing. Because the thing is, like, when I've been playing Sigma, it's very unlikely that I actually get kills with it. And it's mostly because, especially in comp and that, you don't have the follow-up to... Because you can't kill people with it most of the time. Like, if it does half their health, but if they're prepared, then you can't do it. Especially if they're grouped up. But, like, yeah, it makes so much more sense waiting for it to be a bit stronger in that late fight. Like mid to late part of the team fight.
Yeah. It's complicated because it depends on like the context of their ults, your ults, and the map that you're on. But like, there's always like, even if it's not perfect, there's always like a better idea, or you know what I mean? Like, just
More
do your
optimal
best.
way.
Yeah, like just do your best, and you'll be fine. Like if you were to Sigma ult and then rally, you'd still probably kill them. If you were to rally and then Sigma ult, you still probably kill them, right? As long as you don't stack things. Like I hate it when people stack things. Like
Yeah.
my team would sometimes. I mean, I don't hate it. It's just like it happens. But like my team sometimes would use window and then sigil at the same time. I'm like, dude, like they're droning for the window, and their drone is saving them from the sigil. So
Double value.
you know, two birds, one stone for them. I don't like that.
Yeah, we've actually been pretty. Like, I didn't tell you, but I ended up trialing for 7 different teams.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I cut 4 of them out almost immediately, and then the other 3 I kind of liked, and one of them I got turned down because of my schedule, which was unfortunate. I liked them, and then the other 2 I pretty much had to pick, and I chose to go on this team because they had a little bit more synergy, and the off tank was slightly better, I think. Who isn't the off tank that's in this, but he wasn't in the scrim, sadly. But let's see what we end up doing here.
Why would it be Charlie? Last point.
Okay, they use Trends, they use Bungus, they use Flux. They have Blizzard, they have Bob. And
Right, I'm gonna pull grab Flux here, and we bob after it, just the same as what we've been doing.
So realistically,
getting their Bob ult
we
again.
should be
It's fine.
looking to bob earlier to force out their resources and then sig ulting later. That's a good
They're going
fix.
left, they're going left.
Oh no.
Oh, dude.
That's so
I mean,
bad.
on this map, like because the
Right,
chokes are
right,
so
right,
tight,
Early engage,
sig
early
ulting
engage.
first is probably not bad because you'll get all 6 of them probably.
Yeah.
Get a send.
Main no block.
Yeah, main
The
of
Bap's
Priest
one.
Omega, main of Priest Omega.
Shields on point.
Some help,
The Orisa's one. Echoes. Ashes
Our
one
brig
main.
makes a really good call to engage on them there with Rally.
Help our sig.
Yeah, like you guys did it kind of accidentally, where you just sig ulted, forced a bunch of stuff, backed up, and then re-engaged with rally.
What are all these little fire things on the map?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's the enemy Orisa skin. When she
It's important, like that your team realizes this,
You make them use resources
like
to get to us.
at least a little bit, that they need to force things and then follow up. Because if you force things
They swap
and then follow up at the same time,
Oh, we don't need to
like,
yet. We don't
if,
need to
if
yet.
let's say they trans your sigil and you're
They're
still in the
coming
middle
left,
of
they're coming
them,
left. I'm gonna
like
go
trying
early
to
here.
kill like off
back
of
to
the
kill
sigil, then they're gonna just be trans. They're gonna be full, and you're gonna be like, very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if you just sigil from far away and force those things, like you'll be in a safe position to follow up. You're not gonna force anything of your own,
Yeah.
which is like really important for following up.
You're but pretty much it's the same. It's like a watered down version of the concept from killing goats when they're in transition, because if they get onto you and you're on bunker, you're fucked. So you need to be burning all the resources as they're crossing, or trying to get to you at least. So
Yeah, and if they do get to you, then you need to have ults, like, or else you're just gonna lose. I mean,
Yeah.
like, unless your team can play really well individual, like with their individual cooldowns, like you buy as much time as you can with your cooldowns, right? Like you pull, shield, hide, and then you have gold even to follow up, and then drone even, you know what I mean? Like, unless your team plays so well that that they can just accomplish this without positioning, just because like they're good. Because like I don't like an Ashe can still pop off, and kill things after things are forced just by herself, like just by hitting shots.
yeah,
It doesn't always have to be ult reliant. But it's like so hard to rely on your teammates, like especially until you get to like Overwatch League level or like high contenders level, to just win fights that are supposed to be lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think part of that comes from like just knowing that you're you just have to. You've got to have respect for the enemy, but also you just got to be like, yeah, we're better than these guys, and we win these fights even if we're one down. Because literally we won that without a Baptiste, and we probably because we had the ults to turn it. But I don't think I made the decision quick enough to do it. Our brig
that's such an important concept, to be able to turn fights like that. Like that sets teams. That sets like, I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but like that sets average teams apart from like winners. Like people that will win more than they're supposed to. Like Shock does this all the time, where they'll like beat down 3 people and they'll beat, like, just because they still force things and they still think that they can. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to, like, it's not all for naught or whatever. It's like not all is lost based on like just like 1 or 2 people getting picked, because they still force things dying, right? Like they still did something before they died, right? And like their teammates can still follow up and like kill people just like without even their teammates there. Like it's kind of hard to explain, but like my team did this really well recently. Like that's why I think it's super important. Like my team has been doing a great job, like at like being down 1 or 2 people, but then saying like fuck it, like we can still win. Use your ults, call targets, because like we want to be, you know, like we want to be the best, like in contenders. Like we didn't, like we were scrimming and we were like beating teams that were like top 4, like in contenders before we played. And like honestly, I think it's largely like because I really enforce this concept of not giving up like easily and not like just, you know, I've been really trying to have that. Like even when I was saying earlier about using your ults first and like getting the poke in early so that they can't do anything, like they feel suffocate, like they feel like they don't have the resources to follow up on anything. Like that just plays into this idea that like, I don't know, like even if someone gets picked, like obviously if 3 people get picked for nothing, like I'm just gonna call it off. But like if I can read it, the fight where like let's say my Sigma gets picked on an off angle, but they still use drone, like I'm still gonna call for my BAP to use his ult because I know that on one pull we can kill like 2 or 3 people even without our Sigma.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing to realize is what value do they bring to the fight, like the person that got picked. Like if they have the ult that needs to change the fight, then you're probably not gonna win.
Yeah.
If they, you know, like if it's like the same way that in GOATs people used to still fight if like their Lucio got picked. Like that's not a huge deal. But if their Reinhardt got picked, it's just over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of the time.
Yeah. No, I feel I feel like I've got a better grasp on that than most people, and our team's pretty damn good at like not giving up.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's at least there's one map at least from the GGEU match today that we can quickly look at.
Come back.
That's why I said
Yeah, I think we should probably wrap it up soon. Well, I'm down to look at part of that map, but I don't want to like give you too much because I want you to focus like
They're gonna break
at least on like just start with positioning and ults,
reseller
like,
shift, reseller
and then
shift.
you know we can reassess things because I think like it's a lot of
so many.
information. It's a lot to work on, but I want you to just start by like thinking about it and like slightly incorporating it whenever you can, like whether it just be like it just like always be pressing tab and like think about the hierarchy of ults, like which one do we want to use first to force things and which one do we want to use to kill things, right? Which one, you know, like where do we want to stand so that like we force the positions, and like it's easier on defense to just like find a position to poke them, like because they have to come to you, right? When you're defending and when you're already capping the point on Koth, like you know that they have to come to you. But on attack, it's a little more complicated because you have to take that space, but you can still poke. And you know, ults are so more important on attack because like you have to use them to actually take that space.
Yeah.
Whereas on defense, you just like use them a lot of the time to kill things, or just to like, you know, in case you scuffed, like in case you let them in without getting poke in, then you ult.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, working on the positioning, understanding, especially on re-engages, working out where the cart is currently sitting, and just having mentally tracked it, and when it comes naturally anyway, but making sure that we're not giving up on a fight that could be winnable, and probably prioritizing, working out on the ults a bit better. So like prioritizing, knowing what we can do with them, like using the Sigma ult a bit later. Yeah, I think you're probably right because I forgot that map that I wanted to look at was pretty much a roll. Like they didn't give us any challenge on it. It was Rialto defense, but like we ended up just.
Hands up behind us. Got him.
They use hands ult, they use bongo,
Like
they use bap ult, they use ball.
there's a good example of this here.
I don't think we can spam again.
On defense when we're taking advantage.
No, we
like
can't spam it, but we can stay up.
for some reason, none of the other teams I played against actually do proactive shit. like what you were saying.
We
Yeah.
can look for Bob in the long.
Yeah, like up until you get to like contenders level, I really feel like people don't think about
I
this
can go
stuff,
back. I
and
can
they
go
play
back.
into the hand. Like,
Okay.
Can we drop
yeah,
Apple?
I don't know.
Two,
Like, I don't know.
one.
I know exactly the content. Like, could you play back a little? What you were trying to?
So basically, this is just showing like that we actually did something, like what you were saying with making sure that we're taking advantage even if we lost someone. So I think
We
we
can
lose.
look for Bob in the long.
They're going lower. Hanzo high.
Like, it looks like they're already in, but this is like another case where
I
you could
can
be
go
poking
back,
them
I
on
can
that
go
bridge.
back.
Like, that bridge is such a good spot to poke them
Can we
before they
drop
come
them
in,
Apple?
because you just have that
Yeah.
high ground. You're untouchable, and like they have no cover on that bridge.
The problem
So they have
was
to-
they ended up
They're already in.
they're running a stupid fucking comp because they're running a nano mercy boosted Hanzo into us, so we're just getting our shields melted when we're standing up. That's why everyone's like standing back here, because every time we walk up, our shields get melted. Even though I was trying to tell them we just take the choke where I was sitting because you've got the cover.
I mean, even if you just, I think it should be fine if you guys just like stand in the window to the left of that choke and then just double shield spam, because even if your shields eventually break, like they had to use a lot to break them into, like you're still going to spam while they're up,
Yeah,
you know, like
I mean we do it. It's just
easily walk back to safety.
it's the reason that we're in that position, but
On 3.
It's
2,
fine. I mean, as long as you get it now, it's
I'm pulling it.
really matters.
I'm low behind you, but
You got lamp out.
You got lamp out. We can bat bolt for free.
They're gonna.
Can we go up to the next corner? Ready?
Definitely like
Let's
pay
go.
more attention
3,
to your gold
2,
usage. I think
1. Bat bolt.
you're using it like in passive situations.
yeah.
there's someone's.
But yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, you force their drone, it's a 20-second cooldown. Like, you have a long time. I think Arista Gold is like a huge thing that I personally like to punish, because, you know, as an Arista player, I know if someone's wasting it and if they're vulnerable, like, I don't know. I always find myself calling it Aristas more, because like I just know if I don't have gold and I get pulled, I'm gonna die. Like,
Yeah,
if I don't have shield, especially.
yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else about this map that you wanted to talk about?
No, that's
Before we-
probably a good place to wrap, because
Yeah.
I'll have to head to sleep soon. Well,
Mhm.
pretty much now.
All right.
but-
Well, just let me know if you have any like specific map questions, or like, because I think you get this idea now, but I think it's like application will be a little more difficult. So like, if you have any questions about certain map positions, like this one, you know, standing up there and spamming the bridge, that's a really important, you know, map position. If you have any questions about ult combinations, like what should we have used first in this situation when we had these ults and they had these ults, you know,
Yeah.
anything like that.